Okay, boys and girls, so I'm gonna start with some stuff that I found around the house. And I'm working outside in my patio, so you might hear some outside noise. So this is just some junk mail, what we call junk mail, that came in, and I keep it around. And I'm just gonna take a couple of pages from this and tear it up, and I'm going to create a collage with it. So I'm just tearing. You can pick some things that you can tear that maybe you really like. It's up to you. You might want to do it by color scheme. Just pick the colors that you like the most, maybe. But make sure that your parents don't need the stuff before you tear it out. So I'm gonna look in here. Get this little picture of this little dog. So what I've decided to do is I'm actually going to be looking for stuff that has the same color. So I'm looking for this green and maybe some of these red cherry looking. So anything that's green, I'm gonna try to tear it out and kind of do color blocking on my collage. Here we have some cilantro pictures. Let's see this one. And I also have some magazines. So I'm going to look through my magazines and see what pictures I can tear out that have the color green in them to make this collage. All right, I use this paper from the art journal, and I'm just gonna tear off the sides. I can use my fingers to tear this off, or I can tear it off with a scissor. You can use your art journal pages if you have your art journal with you, or you can use notebook paper or a white sheet of paper. All right, so we're gonna start, and we're going to do this vertically. So I'm gonna put my piece of paper, and then I already went ahead and tore a lot of green images. For this project, I don't want to use my scissor, so I want to tear with my fingers. So now I'm going to think about the layout, which is where I want to place everything on my paper. And I have to keep checking to make sure that I have the paper in a place where you could see it in the camera. So I'm just thinking about the placement of my colors. We are gonna add some other stuff to this. We might actually even paint it. But right now I'm just playing around with the layout. So if you remember a couple of weeks ago, Third and Up, I showed you how to do this. We did a grid on our journals, right? And we broke it up into thirds, and we marked where they would meet. And I said you can use this grid when you're doing work vertically and it also horizontally. So with this grid idea in mind, ignore this line. I am going to put it here on the side and just think about where I want to make an impact with my collage pieces. And we want to stay away from the edges of the paper as much as possible for this. And I think I want to connect my sections together. Now remember, we don't need to necessarily put something on each corner or on each section. We could focus on putting our main focal point over here or down here or over here, okay? So this is just for reference. I'm gonna leave mine like this so that it flows this way. Now I'm gonna take some glue and glue it down. So if you have some glue, take some glue and just, you can slather the glue on your paper or put the glue on the back. However you want to do it is fine. It is very busy here. They are doing some work right behind my house. So you can hear the trucks. I know the dog is in green, but I kind of like him, so I don't want to cover him up. So you're just gonna put your pieces randomly on your paper. But let's try to do, when you have all the pieces that you wanna use, let's try to follow my, my design going from left to right, kind of in a diagonal manner, just for this project. Okay. All right, so this is where we are right now. All right, so next, once your pieces are dry, or mostly dry, we can move on to the next step. So I don't have crayons with me right now, but I do have my oil pastels. And I have this little fancy color wheel. I'm going to try and see how I can send you guys a link to the color wheel that we used at school. So I'm gonna look for green on my color wheel. Okay. And I'm gonna look at the colors next to the green. So I can go either blue or yellow. I want to go with the colors not opposite, but right next to the green so that this is harmonious, okay? So I'm going to use yellow, and I'm going to use maybe not blue, but blue-green. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask you to get your crayons, or you can use oil pastel if you have some. I don't think they're in your art boxes, because we were using them in class, but you can use crayons, you can use yellow colored pencils, or you can use yellow paint. And on one side of this empty space, so this is our positive space, right, where we have our newspaper and magazine clippings stuck on, and then we have these white spaces on our paper that have negative space, okay? So we are gonna color on one side yellow, okay? Make sure that you guys can see it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to touch. So I'm rubbing the color. Let me see if I can zoom this a little bit. I don't think I can. I'm gonna kind of touch the yellow onto the print. So I'm kind of on purpose coloring over parts of the magazine clippings, all right? And because that's oil pastel, I can rub it and blend it like you guys know how to do, but I'm not gonna do it just yet. I'm gonna go to the other side and take my blue and just color with either crayon or oil pastel or colored pencil this other negative space, just coloring along the edges. All the way down. In blue, okay? And I think I want to leave up here open with no color, and down here, all right. So now, because I'm using oil pastel, I'm gonna take my finger and rub it out. Remember, you really can't do this with crayon. So if you're using crayons, you really can't do this step. You can just color more in. But if you're using paint, you can't rub paint out either. You can't blend it, but you could stretch it out a little bit more. And now I'm going to go to my blue side and just rub it. And because I have some yellow already on my finger, it's gonna look a little green, but that's okay. Alright, so this is what it looks like with oil pastel. And maybe if you have colored pencil, it will look a little different, but the idea is to use a harmonious color, some blue on one side and some yellow on the other, because those are the colors that are side to side on the color wheel for the green. Okay, so next I'm gonna take a black crayon or oil pastel. I wouldn't do it with colored pencil because it's not gonna be dark enough. So either black crayon, black oil pastel, or if you have a black Sharpie marker. And I'm going to create an image. I'm gonna draw an image over this. So let's see, what do I want to draw? Do you hear all these birds outside? They are happy, these birds. All right, so I think I'm going to create a big leaf image over this. So let's see how it comes out. I'm gonna start from down here and create the stem. And this is why I want you to use either black crayon or colored oil pastel so that it really sticks out. And now I want to put the leaf just over my green. See how I didn't really put the leaf on the yellow side or the blue side? I kind of kept it where my glued collage is, okay? And then I'm gonna go right down the middle. Okay, see how I did that? And then I can do the little veins for the leaves. There you go. Right, so I can leave it like that and post it on my wall, just like that. So for my beginners, you guys can leave it like that. But I'm gonna think about this and I'm gonna see what else I can add for my more advanced students. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I got a little bit of white paint If you have white paint, you can do this. If you don't have white paint, you can just leave it as is. But I do know that some of you do have paint, so I got some white paint. I have, this is full of water. You can use a cup, a plastic container, just something that your parents say is okay for you to use as your water bucket, just like we do in school. Okay, I'm trying to move all of this mess off my area. And I'm gonna get a brush. So all of you in the upper grades in 5th and 6th have your watercolor brushes. You could use those if you don't have any other brushes. Or if you have another type of brush laying around, you can use that. I don't want to use my watercolor brushes for this because I'm going to be using acrylic paint and there's oil pastel, so I'm going to use this brush. I kind of use this kind of brush for all sorts of things. All right, so now I'm going to take some white paint. You really cannot do this with watercolor because if you've put wax underneath, like from the crayon or the oil pastel, the watercolor won't really sit on it. You have to use acrylic paint. But I do know that some of you have those kits from Michael's that you've bought before. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna block out with white some of these edges, okay? Some of these edges where the magazine is. So I'm just gonna take my white. Doesn't have to be like a specific way. It's gonna be kind of like a messy art. You know I love messy art. And I'm just gonna go around some of those edges to kind of hide the clippings. Now, if you don't have white paint, you could have left your project as is, just with the crayon or oil pastel leaf drawn on, and it would have been really nice looking. Remember, I'm trying to do art with you all at home with supplies that you may have at home, so I'm trying to keep the projects as simple as possible. All right. So now I'm going to let this dry because I feel like now I need some sort of edge or another color in between this yellow and white and then the green and this blue and white and green. But I have to let it dry. Okay, so my paper is mostly dry, so now I'm going to take either my black crayon or my black oil pastel, and I'm just going to make markings around my leaf. So this is just what I'm going to do. We have practice with making marks in class. I'm just going to, let me just move things aside so you could see it. And I'm just actually going to make just this kind of tracing over, around, the leaf with an outline, but leaving a separation. Okay, see what I did? And now I'm going to try to do a bigger one. And I kind of like how that looks. And what I might do, because I have some pieces of white paint around the edges, I might just draw some little lines coming out like that. I think my neighbor has her dog outside and I hear the dog whining. That's not my dog, it's my neighbor's dog. My dog is inside because otherwise she'd want to be in the video. Maybe another day I'll put her in the video. Kind of want to even this out now. All right, so I think we're done. I kind of like how it came out. It's very abstract. I have my collage in the middle, and we used our negative spaces on the side by bringing harmonious colors in. I like that. And that's it. That's our project for today, or for this week. Make sure that you post your projects. Either send me through a text or try to see if you can upload it onto a link. Have a great time with doing this, boys and girls.